Tēnā koutou. He mihi ririkau atu ki koutou. E kokiri tahi ania I he huarahi o te ora. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome everybody. I was just saying, me and the team, me and Jan and Linda, we really want to acknowledge your collective efforts, at bringing things together, at creating well-being in your various circles and spaces that you work in. Why do we make boundaries? For a sense of certainty, to generate or sustain identities, for holding together sets of ideas, and I've been told this a few times, for your own good. But there's another reason too. There's something else I think boundaries are for. They're for crossing. And that's what we've been doing in Knowing Practice. We've been working with carpenters and GPs and engineering technicians. And I know that doesn't sound like it would work as a project, but it did. And so here we are. And I often ask myself this, how did this happen? I know what you're thinking in answer to that question, I think. And you're right. It happened because of people. It's the people. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. Right? When you work across different sectors or different parts of education and professional education sectors, you have to explain a project a lot. But that's a good thing because you build relationships and you deepen the relationships that you already have. And I want to talk about some of those relationships as well as the project, and take it as read that our team, we love our colleagues at NZCER and at Ako Aotearoa, but I'm going to talk about the participants in this work. And the three participating organisations. And the first one I'd like to mention is the Royal New Zealand College of GPs. I first met John Pearson, Sam Merton and Sue Demansky in 2012 because they invited me to speak at their education convention. The conference theme was Close Encounters, and there was a dinner unlike any other. Every table had a large inflatable, sort of almost life-size alien, and we were invited to play a version of the Hunger Games where we had to kill the aliens at other people's tables while protecting our own. I don't know what the connection between general practice and some post-apocalyptic world actually is. There's obviously a connection though. But there were explicitly no rules, and so very quickly it grew very intense. There was wrestling, screaming, terrible duels with cutlery, and possibly some very weird ACC claims in the wake of it. But the thing was, it was really obvious that NZCER should be working with the College of GPs, right? That's clear. And from the outset and throughout, Sam, John and Sue, even though they're not actually with the college anymore, have been great supporters of this project. And then more recently, Pam Watson, who is the Principal Advisor for Education Standards at the college, has also been a fantastic support and promoter of this project. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet all the medical educators, the GP teachers and the GP registrars that they facilitated us to meet. Wonderful people who led us in on their learning groups, their teaching sessions, told us all about what it really means to be a GP in their eyes. We're absolutely indebted to you. The Building and Construction ITO. This is an ITO with a genuine commitment to supporting learners. And we've had an existing relationship with the BC ITO from a previous project, the one about the system for supporting on-job learning that exemplified principles of good practice. And we got to know the architect of that, Andrew Keir, the GM for Standards Leadership, and the wider team, including the training advisors, some of whom were part of this project. And for Knowing Practice, Andrew and the team connected us with apprentices, employers. They explained all sorts of aspects of building and construction industries that we didn't know about. And the apprentices and the employers were so incredibly generous, walking us around their building sites, showing us their work, and telling us about their approaches to teaching and learning. The training advisors provide learning support to apprentices, so we drew on them as a sort of community of practice that we know they've been building. and they've got a great mindset. They pay attention to learning for the apprentices and for themselves. And they gave us lots of practical support as well, drive-alongs to building sites. They made sure we had the appropriate personal safety gear. In Christchurch, they gave us a tour of the rebuild so that we understood the wider context that the apprentices are working in. We're indebted to you, the BCITO. The Institute of Professional Engineers in New Zealand. NZCER's had a long-standing relationship with IPENS, and particularly Angela Christie, who's the GM Outreach. Going back quite a few years now, Angela's connection is through a number of research projects about the Future in Tech Initiative and STEM careers. She and IPENS are deeply committed to engineering career development and learning support at every level of education. And so through Angela, we were supported by IPENS, NZBED, the Engineering E2E. We were put in touch with companies who offered cadetships. And those companies introduced us to their mentors, their team leaders, their managers, their cadets. They were all wonderful, and we're so indebted to them as well. Projects can also have really interesting outcomes. So we even met a cadet who we thought was so articulate about her role and about engineering work that with her permission, we helped recruit her to become a Future in Tech ambassador to schools. What did we find with all this? We found this thing that we call vocational thresholds, transformational learning experiences that show learner practitioners the big picture of their field of practice and their role in that field. And we asked GP registrars and carpentry apprentices and engineering technician cadets about their work and learning, and we asked their mentors, their advisors, their workplace teachers, their employers, but we focused on the most significant learning experiences, the ones that were so meaningful they led to feeling and being different as practitioners, behaving differently at work. And the stories they told us are wonderful, and they're in the main report in lots of detail, and they're summarised in the summary. But despite them being really specific to the field, they had all these common features right across the fields. They revealed the big picture, as I've said, and the purpose of the role. They connected up theory and practice. They had that no going back quality. You know, once you see things in this new light, you can't see them the way you saw them anymore. And they come from authentic experience. They're not from something somebody read in a book or learned about in a classroom, even though those things can be impactful too. These came from authentic experience of work, and they were personally as well as professionally challenging. They challenged the way somebody is. And sometimes they were quite painful. We heard some painful stories, and there were counterintuitive kinds of realisations about work practice or about what their role actually was. So these are experiences that move people to a new level of capability. And it's a vocational threshold sort of integrates, what you know with what you can do with how you are as a practitioner in any field. So it's an identity demand or a beingness demand. So it's not just a demand to know stuff or to refine skills, it's about your dispositions. And those were the important things that people talked to us about when we asked them what was important. They talked about a lot of dispositional stuff. But experience is not enough on its own. I think we all know that. So some things can help shift what is an interesting experience or an awkward experience into being a threshold one. And some of those things are cultivating a practice landscape, a big one, not just your workplace. Providing opportunities to actually practice and reflect on that practice. And helping and actually having people who are in designated learning support roles. So this is the part, obviously, that becomes really important for workplace mentors and teachers, for employers, for careers educators, for tertiary education teachers in institutions, because they can help develop capability by cultivating the conditions so that learners can use vocational thresholds. The ones that teachers might guess that exist, and the ones that learners identify for themselves. We've also got our own memorable experiences of the research. Sometimes, you have to be kind of resourceful and keep a sense of humour. So Linda is now well versed in uses of the slope meter in roading design. She got quite a lesson on that and had a grand tour of a particular guardrail in a particular part of the country, and that cadet was so proud of his guardrail, the one that ensures public safety, his guardrail. Jan, the ever resourceful Jan, actually ended up interviewing one carpentry apprentice through a gap in floorboards. And I've always wondered if they were to meet again, would they recognise each other? Well, I don't know. But, you know, when you really want to get the interview and somebody's hard at work down there, but they're keen to talk about it, why not do it then? For my own sins, I was involved in a GP case review involving a diagnosis of sex headache, which was new. That was really nice that the GP teacher and the registrar tried to be really inclusive of me in this. So unfortunately, I was hauled in as so sex headaches. What do you know about sex headaches? And have you had sex headaches? And tell us about your sex headaches. And want to Google that with us? And that's the stuff of research. You know, that is the fun stuff of it. Really, you know, there's a whole lot of things behind the scenes that don't make it into the final report, and that's just some of it. But it's the people, right? It's the people. And we've done our best to honour what people have shared with us. And there's so much to learn and appreciate about anybody's job if you just look a little closely. It's so much more surprising, deeper, more challenging, more rewarding than it appears at first glance. And so we've loved learning about that. And we've had our own pivotal moments too, you know, really early on in this project. It was a GP teacher I happened to interview, and I asked her, well, what do you think would be the most significant learning experience that a registrar could have? And she said, oh yes, she said, that would be sitting in on a very experienced GP, watching an expert do their consultations, being part of it but not having to make the decisions, like being a fly on the wall, but seeing how it all comes together. And I said, oh yes, that sounds really good. She said, you know, that happened to me, I got to do that. And I said, oh well, you've got a registrar, do you do that for your registrar? And she said, no. Oh no. And you know, it got us wondering, and it set us on this path. I haven't, you know, named everybody or every organisation, I know that, but me and Jan and Linda and Sally Robertson, who worked on this project early and was a team member, we have noticed, we kept all the emails, we filed them all, and we appreciate everything. There is one more person that our team wants to acknowledge, and we have a sort of an imaginary award for this person. In the early stages of a project, any project, you know, you try stuff out, you need to tweak it, you know, you've planned, but it's still not, you know, it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect. So early on, me and Linda and Jan and Sally were trying out the interview question about the most significant learning experience that, in this case, a carpentry apprentice could have, and we thought, oh, let's try this out on the BCITO training advisors, let's test this out. Sadly, we didn't actually coordinate our efforts, so on separate occasions, independently of each other, we all contacted the same training advisor to ask this question, and we sort of pressed on even when he politely sort of tried to say, you know, I think I've answered this or told someone else. So the award is Most Resilient Interviewee, and it goes to BCITO Training Advisor Daryl Bradford. Mate, we're really sorry. Thank you for being so patient with us, and thank you all for your interest in this project and your support.
Tātou na mahinui ki a koutou I tēnei rā whakahirahira, talofa lava malo I lele. Yeah, I'd like to add to Karen's warm welcome. It's just a pleasure to join you all here at this launch. I'm Rhonda Thomson. I'm Project Funds Manager at Ako Aotearoa. Unfortunately, it's a shame Peter Colbert can't be here, but yeah, I'm really delighted to actually add a few words about, offer a few words about this project, Knowing Practice. So a few words. So first, Knowing Practice. Yeah, we think this is really groundbreaking stuff. To our knowledge, no study of this kind has been undertaken in New Zealand. The study looks across a diverse trades, professions, and demonstrates the commonalities of becoming a confident practitioner. Second, we think knowing practice is exciting stuff. It's exciting because it's good research. Tick, we want to see that. And second, and perhaps more importantly, and certainly why Ako Aotearoa is most excited in this work, is it has really good potential to impact on learners. This work provides some valuable guidance and raises some really significant questions around vocational education and how it best supports supports learners through the process of developing as a capable expert and practitioner. Hey, tick, we really like that too. Look, so I also just want to add a few acknowledgements and thank yous. Look, I know this work has been really dear to the team, to Karen, Linda and Jane and to Sally. And by dear, I mean that I know that they have been really fascinated and inspired by the people that they've worked through the course of this project. So from the setting up of the project and people who supported them through the initial project idea, to people that they met through their field work and I guess through the writing up of the work as well. And, and that really includes many of the people in this room. So I'd like to extend, our thanks to all of you here. And it's actually worth just listing a few. I guess thank you to NZCER and your team of broader colleagues, and to the other funder through a grant, MOE, Ministry of Education, staff at BCITO, training advisors, employers and apprentices, staff at the Royal College for GPs, so college registrars and GP teachers, staff at IPENS, candidates and mentors, and there's also been support from people in governance levels in these organisations. And look, I know I've probably missed some of you out, and I know that's really uncool, but I want to raise a point, and that is that there is actually many people to thank, and that raises another thing about the innovation of this project. It's a highly collaborative project and it's really, really well set up for impact. And so just before I move away from the lectern, I'd just like to ask you all a question. Given that we know now that we've established that we all support this work, do we now share in the challenge of disseminating its findings? I really hope so. So, nō reira, congratulations to NZCER and the project team. Thank you, ngā mihi nui ki a koutou katoa.
Katoa, Graeme Cosslett, Director of NZCER, and it's my delight and joy to be actually in this place here to not only to have the opportunity to speak, but actually also to be proud of the fantastic innovative work that we have here today in the launch of Knowing Practice. So great to have you all here. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for taking the opportunity to knock off work just that extra half hour or hour earlier to say, yes, I'll come along to a great launch and to socialise and have connections with various people in different organisations. So it's lovely to see you all here. As Rhonda and both Karen have also said, a huge thank you to the organisations that have agreed and been willing to really contribute as part of this research work. This kind of groundbreaking space that we've had here in the research actually isn't possible without those kinds of connections and that offer of opportunity to say, yes, we're willing to be part of this, and not only does it support the research work in terms of developing and finding new space, but actually it also creates a real opportunity of collaboration, working together and connecting with organisations that are sort of just slightly different from maybe where you typically kind of connect with. And that's a great opportunity not only for ourselves as NZCER, but actually we hope also for yourselves and your organisations. So yeah, huge appreciation for your contribution to the work that we've got through to this point. Could I just ask, Karen, could you actually come back up again to the front? And Jan, could you also join? And also Linda, if you could also come up to the front here. So first of all, I would like to say a huge thank you for your ideas of creating, I guess, the big picture dream of what could be looked at here, but actually also your perseverance, your kind of confidence for going forward and pushing forward, and for the innovative thinking that you really have put to this work, not only with sitting here in the offices and working away, but actually also with the conversations externally. And a huge appreciation for all of that work that you have given over this period of time, because getting to this point doesn't just happen, with a click of the fingers. It's a whole lot of hard work. So a huge round of appreciation. We do have here some lovely flowers to share as well, so we'll pass these over. Just to pick up a little bit with what Rhonda started talking about as well, that yes, thank you for coming here and to celebrate this day, but actually we hope this is the beginning of a journey and not actually the end point of a report that is now here for all of us to read. Have you read the 75 pages, or are you going to take
that's appendices.
But one of the things, I'll be really honest and say, even if you pick up this one and start reading through it, there is some fantastic work and some fantastic thinking in here. And I would imagine that all of us could be looking at this and say, what about me and for my organisation, and how could this kind of thinking be implemented? Because actually there's a heck of a lot here that makes you just sort of sit back and think, have I created that kind of learning space and that learning environment that actually really works for our organisation to be able to enable those vocational thresholds and that opportunity for really building that deep capability, not only within ourselves and our teams, but within our whole organisation. So I really do encourage you to take it away and read it, and actually maybe even in your conversations just later this evening, have a conversation about how could this continue to live longer? Could it be further research work? Could it be other resources or opportunities that could actually grow from here? Because I think there's something really special here that actually has got a life that is really just starting today. So we hope that that can really sit there with you and be something to really think about. Yes, we've worked here with GPs and carpenters and engineers, but actually I think this work is really relevant for a whole range of organisations, vocational organisations, and also just thinking about those different kinds of contexts as well. So just sort of planting a seed for you to think about in terms of other opportunities that could kind of continue growing on from this point. So that brings us to an end of the formal part of this evening in terms of the speeches. So thank you for listening to us. We promised we wouldn't be long and tiring. So you're all still standing. Do hope you continue to stay with us. Enjoy this. Should be some more drinks there and maybe some more food. I'm not entirely sure about that. But we'd love to see you further and continue the conversations. Thank you for coming tonight. See you then.